Hey, what's up, nerds? It is Paul again at Radio Free Hammer Hall, and today I am talking once again about the new Cities of Sigmar book, and really about the history of Cities of Sigmar in general, and how all of that is sort of ghettoized and segregated, and how things in the book just sort of don't really work together very much. Um, Now, there's been a lot of talk and complaint about how there's not really any interaction and synergy between the different racial groups in the book, the humans, the dwarves, and the elves. All of the elves just have abilities that interact with elves, and so on for the other races. There aren't any abilities that are just Cities of Sigmar. There's a couple of allegiance abilities that just hit everything. Um, the cities themselves generally hit everything, although some of them are specific to like one unit or like group of units. Um, so there's been a lot of talk about this, and I think there are some kind of like mental hangups at work here that if we think further about this, I think we'll realize that it's not the issue that we think it is. The one thing that I do want to address off the top is one of the complaints that I have heard about this. It's really more of a broader complaint about Age of Sigmar in general. It's just that there is this divide in all of the armies, that you have a lot of this segmentation in all of the armies where you have just sort of this one group that really only has abilities that interact with that one group. And that is certainly an opinion on just like the design of the game. And that's fine. We can have a conversation about that. That is a completely separate issue to what I'm talking about. But actually that really leads into what I'm talking about. That this actually isn't all that weird. If we look at all of these various other battle tomes that we have in Age of Sigmar, we're going to see this same thing playing out in very many of these battle tomes. If we look at Gloomspite Gitz, your Moon Clan and your Squigs and your Trogs really aren't interacting with each other. If we look at Ogres, Beastclaw Raiders, and Gutbusters aren't interacting with each other. In Maggotkin, your demons and your mortals aren't interacting with each other. So, and on and on and on through all of these various different books. You have sort of this subgroup of units within the army, and you'll have sort of like power pairs, or kind of groups where you might have a couple of heroes and a couple of units in that group, and then some abilities, maybe allegiance abilities that go along with that. And things are sort of segregated or siloed off for that. And it's not that weird. It's really ubiquitous throughout the game. It's part of just how this game is designed. But then we get to Cities of Sigmar, and it seems like it's different to people for some reason. And I think there's kind of two things in play here. Number one, I think we kind of have some a visual aesthetic thing going on, that these different subgroups are historically from three separate armies from Warhammer Fantasy Battles. So when they are in your army, they are visually distinct on the table. Their aesthetics have nothing to do with each other. And so it's even more pronounced and noticeable when they're not interacting with anything else. It's like having completely separate armies on the table that are just in one list. It's like having allies, right? That you have in your army. It's not really part of the same thing, so to speak. And then I think the other piece to this is this idea kind of that the narrative says they're all supposed to be working together. And I think there's maybe some misunderstanding there or different perspectives on it. Because some of the narrative does kind of say that, you know, you do have these different groups where you do have cities that are like just elves, and some that are just dwarves, or some that are just humans, or, you know, predominantly one or the other. Or there are certain subgroups that are just hanging out in this one city. So it actually does, to me, kind of make sense that these things are more segregated out. And then from a sort of design perspective, it's going to be hard to actually get them to make sense interacting with each other. Because, like, they don't really have mixed units. We would need, like, a total redesign of the range where we have units that have integrated races in them. That's just not a thing that's there. So I think we kind of need to keep rolling kind of with what we have. It's a thing to me that makes sense, right? Like, you have, say, a Darkling Coven's unit. The leader of that they're going to want to be taking orders from is going to be some sort of Darkling Coven's leader. To me, that just kind of is the thing that makes sense. Why would a Darkling Coven's group be taking orders from a free guild marshal? To me, that doesn't make any sense. So I think that is where we have some of this disconnect. And then if we actually go even further down, drilling down into this book, there's other separations within this that, you know, people aren't complaining about, but they're still there, right? That we have these Castellite units, that's even a subgroup within the humans, right? We have the Cavaliers and the Cavalier Marshal, that's a subgroup within the humans as well. We've got the Cogsmith and the Gyrocopter Gyro Bomber. They are just a unit that really just interacts with themselves as well. Nothing else really interacts with them too much. Similar things over in Darkling Covens again. So why are we thinking that these things should be interacting? Like, why is it okay on this granular level, but not like a step up? But then we go on to a higher level, and once again, we're okay with it when we have, like, army-wide, and we bring in an ally, and the ally is not really working together. The, you know, your coalition's not really working together. And then we are getting some of these allies in this particular book getting some of the special rules from your cities, but not necessarily everything. So I think it's really just some mental hang-ups that people are having about this, and it's not necessarily what is something that's inconsistent with the rest of the game. So if your concern or complaint is that the game in general is just doing this separation and segregation thing within armies, that's a separate discussion. If you're saying, like, oh, why is there this stupid racial segregation in this book? It doesn't make any sense. Why can't my elves work with my dwarves? Like, guys, it's the same reason your demons can't work with your mortals. It's just how it's broken up in this book. And it's broken up that way just kind of for aesthetic reasons and historical reasons. It just kind of works that way. So, I don't know. Sometimes restrictions breed creativity. Very frequently in a lot of armies anyway, you're really kind of working with, like, power pairs and things like that. You're not working with these big like overarching buffs where like you're affecting your whole army or something like that. So it seems in practice to me sort of moot anyway. Like yeah, you want this thing to work this way, but like are you asking for a thing that you actually want to use? Like, does it make sense? Like, okay, like, would it be awesome to get your Warforger to give more rend to other units? Sure. And I think there actually is probably an argument for the wizards in the army, the spells in the army to be interacting with the different groups because it's magic. It's not like an ability. So, like, why would an elf be immune to human magic? I don't know. I that one kind of makes sense to me. But you know, other things like I don't know. It just doesn't. It doesn't jive. Like, why would one group take orders from another? So, I mean, I guess that's it, guys. I think we need to kind of put our blinders on a little bit. You know, don't look at the words on the page. Don't look at the models for a minute. Just say like Group A, Group B, Group C, and then does it now make sense? Does it jive? And like I think that it kind of just is consistent with how most of the rest of this game works. So, I don't know. Kwitcherbitchin? Yeah, gonna go with Kwitcherbitchin. Alright, see you all later.